What's up everyone? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk about something very important for every buyer out there purchasing a home. Inspection and 5 common red flags that could come up during inspection. Before we get started, if you have not been to my channel yet or watched any of my videos but are interested in the topic of real estate and the content I produce, make sure you hit that subscribe button down here and turn the notification bell on so you will be notified whenever I upload a new video. So let's get right to it. Even though a lot of lenders do not require, or a lot of loan programs better said, do not require a home inspection, I encourage you, when you are looking to purchase a property, get a home inspection done. Doesn't matter if the lender requires it or not, you should get a home inspection done so you will know exactly what is wrong and what is right with the house you are about to purchase. Red flag number 1 is moisture. Moisture can be present at various locations in the property you are about to purchase. For example, the basement, the attic, behind walls, and the roof. You're going to see moisture from time to time in a property, whether it is a roof leak or something completely different. Most of the time, if there was a moisture issue and it has properly been solved, it usually is okay. That is why a home inspection is so important, and to hire a home inspector. The home inspector will find out if there was or currently is a moisture issue in the property. Most of the time, the moisture issue occurs in the basement, and the inspector has numerous indicators if there has been or is a current moisture issue in the property. For example, the inspector will get a better picture of what might happen or is currently present by checking the corners, the trim, and the carpet. That's why it is important to have a home inspection done, because moisture intrusion can cause further issues down the road that will cost even more. Red flag number 2 commonly goes hand in hand with red flag number 1. Red flag number 2 is mold and mildew. A regular inspector usually cannot tell you exactly if it is mold or mildew. The inspector usually is not a licensed professional in the field of mold or mildew. But the inspector will definitely call out if he or she finds dark spots on surfaces in the property, like on the drywall, behind drywall where they can see it, or on wooden beams in the attic, for example, and will recommend contacting a licensed professional who can test the property for mold with, for example, an air quality test. Often mold and mildew is very hard to find because mold and mildew is in hidden places. For example, behind the drywall, behind kitchen cabinets, or underneath kitchen cabinets, for example, or in the attic where you usually do not go on a daily basis. Keep in mind, if you have that second inspection done and hire a licensed professional to test the property for mold or mildew, this will result in more cost for you. But wait a minute. You, as a buyer, can actually ask the seller in the inspection notice if the seller is willing to hire a licensed professional to have it checked out. You got to be very careful with mold and mildew and make sure the house does not have any of that, because mold and mildew cause serious health issues, and you do not want to buy a house that actually makes you sick. Red flag number 3, electrical and plumbing. I know electrical and plumbing are obviously completely different systems, but they have one thing in common. Most of the time, issues are hidden behind walls or underneath floorboards where you as buyer have no access to. If you purchase a home and you have a home inspection done, which you should, the home inspector will keep an eye out for issues with the electrical and plumbing system where the inspector has access to and can actually check it out. For example, with the electrical system, the inspector will take off the electrical panel and check if the wiring is correct, there are any issues with connection, or a wire is actually overheating. On the plumbing side, the inspector will check if there are any leaks wherever he or she can have access to the plumbing. Opening cabinets, letting water run down the sink to see if there are leaks present is one thing the inspector does. Most of the inspectors are also checking if the faucets run properly and if the toilet flushes, as well as if the dishwasher has a leak or not and pumps the water out as it should. Both of those systems are very big red flags. If the inspector finds enough plumbing or electrical issues, the inspector will recommend contacting a licensed professional, licensed electrician, or licensed plumber to check it out and further evaluate the problems. If you're purchasing an older house, you might encounter electrical issues with older wiring or updated wiring that has not been done correctly. In that case, the inspector would also recommend you to contact a licensed electrician to have it further evaluated. Old wiring can be an enormous expense to have fixed, so make sure your inspector will check it out. Red flag number 4, windows. This is such a huge cost. If there is an issue, it is important to know whether something has to be done and repaired or not. The inspector will check if the house is properly closed and if the window has any issues with broken seals. If there are broken seals in the window, you will have most likely moisture intrusion into the home. And we know what that means. Red flag number 1 and red flag number 2. Also, if there are older windows in the house with wooden frames, for example, and the energy efficiency is not there anymore because the windows don't function correctly anymore, and that could happen with newer windows as well. But if the functionality of the windows is not there anymore and they don't close right, your energy bill will go up through the roof because you are literally blowing hot and cold air right out of the window. So make sure the windows are okay. There is a possibility to have them repaired, but most of the time you have to replace the window, and that is going to be expensive. And by the way, not only the window replacement could be expensive, but if your window is not sealing up the house correctly, close the house, then you are blowing out all the air, the cold and warm air your HVAC is producing out on the street, and you have a higher electricity bill, which means you have higher cost as well. Last but not least, red flag number 5. Red flag number 5 is the big ticket items, which means HVAC, roof, foundation, and septic. If the property you are about to buy has an issue with any of those systems, it could be very, very expensive. You usually don't see septic tanks out there that much, and the inspector usually cannot really inspect the septic tank. So what the inspector does is most likely the inspector will recommend you to contact a licensed professional to have the septic tank inspected and maybe pumped. If the septic tank has not been pumped and cleaned out for the last 3 to 5 years, I would recommend actually having it done. And you can also ask the seller in the inspection notice to have that done prior to closing. When it comes to HVAC and roof, the inspector tries to determine how old those items are and how much life they have left. If you have an HVAC that is 20 years old, you most likely have to calculate in some replacement cost rather sooner than later. The roof has some indicators that show the age of the roof and the life that is actually left in the roof. The inspector will point out that shingles are deteriorating, that shingles are curling, and if there is any visible hail damage on those shingles, and will then determine the life the roof has left. Most likely, if the inspector sees wear and tear of the roof that is abnormal, he or she will recommend you to contact a licensed roofer to have this issue further evaluated. Older roofs can be a huge concern. Like I said, there are visual indicators for the inspector to determine what life the roof has left, and then he or she will advise. Most of the time, the biggest and most concerning issue we see is foundation issues. Those issues are enormous in cost. If there is a problem with the foundation, that could be super expensive. And there are several indicators that show the inspector that there could be possibly an issue with the foundation. For example, moisture intrusion and cracks in the foundation could point out that there is an issue, as well as sloping and sagging floors could be an indicator as well that there is an issue with the foundation. Another thing that could actually point out an issue of the foundation could be pest infestation in the foundation itself. If the inspector feels like there isn't foundation issue, the inspector will most likely recommend you to contact a structural engineer to have this problem further evaluated. This could be a humongous cost for you if there is a foundation issue. So this was my little video about the 5 common red flags when you have a home inspection done in your purchasing process. Let's recap that real quick. Red flag number 1, moisture. Make sure there is no moisture present, and if there was moisture present, that it has been fixed properly. Red flag number 2, mold and mildew. Mold and mildew usually go hand in hand with the red flag number 1, but make sure that this has been inspected. Mold and mildew can cause major health issues, and you do not want to get sick from the property that you just purchased. Red flag number 3, electrical and plumbing. Those are big items that could be really expensive, and make sure it has been checked. And if the inspector recommends you to have it further evaluated, please make sure you do that, because you do not want to wake up one night and have a basement full of water or the house burning down because of an electrical issue. Red flag number 4, windows could be a very expensive item as well. If you have to replace them because the house is not closed correctly, which means that the house isn't sealed because the window lets out all the air of the house. This also causes your electrical bill to rise because you're blowing out energy out of your house, literally. Red flag number 5 are the big ticket items. HVAC, roof, foundation, and septic. Most of the time there is no septic, but when there is a septic, this could be also a very expensive item. Foundation, make sure if the inspector actually advises you to have it further evaluated, that you do it before you sign off on it and buy a house, and all of a sudden you have a huge cost coming your way. Same with the roof and if the HVAC is an older HVAC, make sure you already calculate in the replacement cost rather sooner than later. Those were the 5 red flags. A little tip for you buyers out there: if the inspector recommends something to be further evaluated by a licensed professional, you can ask the seller to have that evaluated by a licensed professional before you purchase the property in the inspection notice, but it doesn't mean that the seller is going to pay for it and have it done. If the seller does not agree to do it, it's back up to you. But keep in mind, if the inspector calls something out to be further evaluated, you should definitely check out and have it further evaluated by a licensed professional. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Comment below if you have any questions and what you think about the video. And most importantly, hit that thumbs up so I can get some feedback from you guys and keep posting new content. I really appreciate it. And don't forget, if you have not subscribed to the channel yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now and turn that notification bell on so you will stay up to date with all the videos I post. Real quick before I forget it, if you actually are interested in more content and haven't watched any of the other videos, make sure you're gonna check out the videos down here below and Leave me a like on those as well. I'll see you in the next video.